All right, from the student Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Steve Kilbey accepted the invitation to our show. Steve, welcome to my humble podcast.
Hi, Claudio. How are you?
All good. Thank you very much, man. Steve, let's go back to the beginning of your life. Were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how old were you when you perhaps began taking, I
My
don't know,
dad,
guitar, piano lessons, that kind of stuff?
my dad played the piano, and all his family played the piano. But he was self-taught. This is like working class, poor English people that played the piano. Everybody's job was, every family had someone whose job it was to play the piano before there was radio and TV, and
Yes.
that's how people would entertain themselves. So yeah, my dad played the piano, and then look, I had piano lessons. I just wasn't very good. And then when I was 16, I asked my dad if he'd help me buy an electric bass guitar, and he did. And then he helped me buy an amplifier, and then he actually helped me get a few things. I would he would lend me the money, and I had to pay him back, but he would lend me the money to buy stuff. So that
Yeah.
was really very kind of him to help me out, because musical instruments were really expensive. But he helped me do it.
Yeah. Good for you, man. How you moved from you were born in England,
Born
but
in
you moved to
England.
the
Born in England. Yeah,
Australia when you were a little kid, right?
yeah. My parents migrated here when I was 3.
Yeah. Yeah. The way you speak English more than Australian than English.
Yeah. I'm sort of, yeah. That's for
That's
sure. I'm
awesome.
sort of halfway in the middle.
Yeah, the way you speak. Of
Yeah,
course, Steve
Australians
Kill.
don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Australians don't think I'm Australian. English don't think I'm English. They are sort of not from anywhere. Like I'm not. I feel like I'm not from anywhere. I just, I don't feel English. I don't feel Australian.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't have any allegiance to anywhere. Like that's a weird thing to say, but I don't know. I didn't ever feel part of it.
Got you and understand. Um, of course, you are. John Kilby is an English-born Australian singer, songwriter, best known as the lead singer for the guitarist on the rock band, The Church. But before we talk about The Church, you began your musical career, right? You joined the Canberran five-piece band called Saga at the time right?
Aha. Look, we're talking like in 1972.
That's
I,
74.
I no 72. In
Oh, I see.
1972. In
Yeah.
1972 or 1973, I was just left high school, or still at high school. There was a band playing in Canberra, which is this town I was living in,
Yeah.
and they were just they were an awful band. They were an awful band. They had a good singer. The singer could really sing. The band was really awful, but they had
Yeah.
lots of work. They were playing every night of the week in pubs and clubs and weddings and parties, and you know, and I joined as a bass player.
Yeah.
But they didn't really like me, and they kicked me out after about a year. They thought I was a troublemaker, and I quit that. Yeah, I got kicked out of that, actually. Yeah, it was hard. It really hurt. It hurt, being kicked out of even a horrible band. It's a horrible thing to being kicked out of a band is a terrible thing. It's like it's very heartbreaking when it happens. It's hard to explain. It's sort of like getting the sack and your wife leaving you all in the same sort of in the
Yeah.
same moment, Yeah.
But if you look back, I'm quite sure you have done much better than all the other guys that kicked you out of the
I
band,
know, but at the
right?
time, yeah, but at the time, yeah, I have, but at the time, it hurt getting
Yeah,
kicked out of that band, Saga. But they were a terrible band. They just played covers and stuff.
I
They didn't
got
want
you.
to go. They weren't trying to be like a famous band or go anywhere or write songs or anything. They were just there as a band to play at a football club, playing all the hits of the day, whatever the songs, whatever the songs were that people wanted to hear, Saga would learn to play. The only good thing about Saga, as I say, the singer had a really nice voice. He could really sing. And that made, I guess that made it all bearable. But yeah, not really worth talking about, even though now I have been talking about them, but they're really not anything, they're not really part of my history or career at all.
I got you. No, I understand. Before we talk about the church, of course, you were part of another band called the Tactics in 1970.
For one or two gigs. They kicked
Yeah,
me out too. Yeah, they kicked me out. Tactics kicked me out.
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
I was like I was a hard guy to get on with. And I still am, I suppose. I had to when it comes to music, I always feel like I'm right. And I know what I want to do, and I don't. And tactics wasn't what I wanted to do, and they kicked me out. And
Hmm.
I was a troublemaker. I wasn't a very nice guy, and I was a troublemaker. They kicked me out, but yeah, even that hurt. Even though I was only there for two shows, they kicked me out. And then I had my own band called Baby Grand, and who
Oh,
actually got some demo tapes released, and they kicked me out as well. The whole band left me and became another band, and yeah, I was not an easy person to work with, and I was rude, I was arrogant, I was cruel, I wanted to have my own way, but it's terrible to say this. I was right. What I wanted to do, I didn't. There was no room for anyone else to. You know, I had to be running the show. Otherwise, I couldn't. You know, I wasn't just there to be a bass player for anybody. You know, I wanted to write. I wanted to sing. I had an idea of how I wanted music to be. I had my influences that I wanted to combine and create this vision of a band I've always wanted to have. And um, I'm very sure of what I want to do, and I always have been. And I guess I have rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way along the way. I shouldn't have been so rude, and I was a very rude young man. I'm not so rude now, I'm glad to say. But I probably, a lot of people really disliked me after working with me. I was kind of cruel and impatient, and I just knew what I wanted to do, and I knew how to do it, and people were getting in my way all the time.
yeah,
So, yeah,
understand.
I mean, yeah, sorry. Go on.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I understand. Of course, after that, you formed the band, the church with Peter and
Yeah.
Nick, and you guys did very, very well at the beginning, right? Feel free to elaborate on memory that you have
We,
for that particular period.
we for a while, we put the band together in 1980 in Sydney. There were a lot of bands playing. There were a lot of clubs. There were a lot of. It was called the Australian Pub Rock Explosion, and there were pubs everywhere, and there were bands playing everywhere. And the church came along, and for a while we struggled. And we were just another band playing on the scene. And then we made a demo tape, and we got a record deal and a publishing deal. And we still struggled for a while. And then there was a TV show called Countdown. And in 1981, we were on this TV show called Countdown. And we kind of, everybody loved us. And the record became a hit, and
Hmm.
people started coming to our shows, and we sort of jumped into the spotlight.
Yeah, good for you,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, very happy for you. Of course, I have great memories for that particular album you're referring to, and then you know, you guys went on international fame when Under the Milky Way was released at the time. Do
Yeah,
you
that's it.
have memories?
Yeah,
You have memories of writing under the Milky Way? For me, I'm a musician like yourself. I'm a music connoisseur. I'm a music fan. I have listened to the track probably, I don't know, 30 times in my life or 40. And every time I have like a different interpretation, whatever that means to you when you grow that, whatever it means to other people out there in the world, everybody can interpret the song a different way, and it's a
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah. That's the use of ambiguity.
Right.
Being ambiguous, or that's what I do. I write songs that don't have any real. They're not meaningless, but they don't have any fixed meaning. They're
Correct.
not about this or about that. They sort of set up a situation. They set up a situation for the listener to explore, kind of like a bit like a guided meditation. I sort
Yeah.
of give you all a, like Milky Way is a very good example of that. It sets up an atmosphere, and then it lets the person listening decide what's happening, and then they like that. They like
Yeah.
they like the fact they've been given this choice. Although it doesn't work like that in the listener's head. They just go, oh, this kind of means something to me, but I'm not sure what. And then they've got to listen to it again, and then they listen to it again, and then they
Yeah.
keep thinking of new things. But really, it's just a very ambiguous song. Kind of, kind of. There used to be this aftershave, this
Yes.
cologne, and the advertisement said everybody who wears it will smell differently. Well, Milky Way's like that. Everybody who hears it will sort of feel something different from it, I guess.
Mm. It's a beautiful. I'm quite sure, because the song became very popular, and then it, appeared in top selling chart here in the United States as well. And you have mentioned that, yeah, the song used to be used for program advertising, and you
Yeah,
guys were
yeah,
inducted into the area Hall of Fame in
yeah, yeah,
2012.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's very impressive, man. That's very impressive. You have done. And of course, I want to talk a little bit about your solo work, which is unbelievable. I mean, if the church didn't exist, you would have done very well to writing your own music. I mean, I was listening last night to Unearth, that were released in '86 and '87,
Yeah.
and of course, you like poetry, and that's a beautiful piece of music, man. How you
Thank
how
you.
you how can you do it?
I don't know. That's just what I do. I don't look. I'm not very good at many things. I'm not very good at almost anything. But I'm. This is just what I do. I create stuff, and been working at it all my life,
Mm.
creating stuff, and I don't know.
But
I
how do you
just do
create
it.
how you create the process? You go to with your wife or your girlfriend, whatever, to a store. You see a couple lines. You turn the radio and you see another line. You store in the back
All
of
of
your
that.
head. You go
All of
home
that.
and then,
All of that.
man,
All of that.
that line sounds great. Okay, let me
Everything.
start
Yeah. Yeah.
typing.
Everything.
Wow.
All of those things you said is how, whatever it is. Um, all the time I'm thinking of, I'm hearing music in my head, I'm thinking of words, I'm thinking of how I would record something, I'm thinking about records I hear.
Mm.
I listen to things that I hate, and I try and figure out why I hate them. And
Yeah.
I listen to things that I love, and I try and figure out why do I love them. And
Mm.
I listen to old things. I listen to music from other countries and other times, and I listen to classical and opera and Indian music, and all the time I've got like my head's like a computer, like going, you could use this, you could use that. Oh, you should never use that. You should never do this. You should never do that. So like 24 hours a day, I'm thinking about music. I'm thinking about guitars and drums and vocals and records and all the time. And it's sort of like, and it's all I have ever thought about. You know, since the second time, a third time I saw the Beatles on TV. A friend of mine came round in 1963 with a magazine with the Beatles, and I was just like, wow, this is the life for me, pop music. And I just have devoted 99% of my brain to pop and rock music. And I don't know much about anything else, but I have become an expert in this one thing, how to
Good for you,
record
man.
music,
Yeah.
how to, like every aspect of pop music sort of is fascinates me. And I sort of have spent a long time thinking about it.
I got you. Do you so I imagine that you go lyrics first and then music, right? In
No,
99%
no,
or no? No?
no.
What?
In the beginning, I thought that was the way to do it. I thought lyrics first, and then I'll set them to music. And then I realized, really, for me, the better way round was to come up with a piece of music and then
Yeah,
see what lyrics that would suggest. And in fact, very, very rarely now will I write lyrics and then set them to music. Every now and then I do. Every now and then I come up with some lyrics and I try and set them to music. But usually I have the music first, and then the music will tell me what the lyrics will be. That's usually always the way.
I got you. And in general, if somebody were to ask you, how long does it take for you to, once the guy put, 70% of the track and before it mix and master and so forth, uh, how long will it take for you to go to a different room? Hey, I got it, guy. Let me get my cup of coffee and just take
Write the
writing this stuff.
lyrics.
Yeah.
I write the lyrics. I write the lyrics within about 10 minutes.
Are you
Yeah, yeah,
really?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it all happens fast. It all just happens really fast. I don't like it if it doesn't happen fast. And it happens fast, and I usually nail it, like, quick. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, Nev,
You,
yeah.
you,
But
you,
yeah, I
I
just
don't
got
know.
good at it. I got really good at that by working on
Yeah,
music. It wasn't like that in the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. But, after working on so many records,
yeah,
after writing so many songs, after collaborating with so many people,
yeah,
you start to figure out how to do it. Like when you hear a piece of music, you know how to write the lyrics and get the melody, and you know where to sing, and then you get your own style,
yeah,
and then that's the hardest thing in any form of art, is to
yeah.
be yourself. I
Mm,
mean, it's easy to sing like Mick Jagger or David Bowie or Bob Dylan, but it's really hard to sing like yourself and be like yourself. So that's a
sure.
great thing when a singer, when a lyricist turns into himself, when he's presented a piece of music
Mm,
to write lyrics for. It's so much easier when you know who you are and you're not trying to be anyone else. And you sort of, I guess that took a while as well for me to know who I was and not to want to try and write a song like somebody else. Um, so yeah, but so think of this. Like, I'm now 70. I'm going on 71 years. I'll be 71 years old. I've been doing this since I'm 16. So that's like 54 years of solid
that's,
music.
yeah,
It's not surprising that I got good at it, because I've been doing it so long. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, when
yeah,
you've been doing something a really long time, you sort of figure out a way of doing it that might seem to outsiders going, well, how can you write a song in 5 minutes? And it's like, because I've been doing this a long time, and now I figured out a way to do it.
yeah.
In the
That's right.
beginning, it wasn't like that. I had to
Yeah,
really put a lot of work into this.
yeah. Good for you, man. What kind of music you listen nowadays? Do you listen to a lot of music at home,
Me,
driving, going to shows,
I,
rehearsing,
I,
whatever?
I don't listen. this is a terrible thing to say. I really listen to old music mostly for pleasure. I listen to the things I really loved when I was
Like,
growing up,
like
like
what?
Bolan, like T-Rex, like David Bowie, like Bob
Yeah,
Dylan, like the
yeah,
Beatles, Motown music. I really love. People might
yeah.
think not believe I love the Supremes. Um,
Good for you, man.
I love Springsteen. I love bands like Television, and I love a lot of English bands. I like Genesis and Yes.
Yeah,
I like the Rolling Stones. Um, and you know everything I like, I take the bits out of it that I like and put it in my music. So if I hear if I hear an idea that I really like in something, I'll figure out a way to bring it into what I do. You know,
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
yeah. So,
You,
but
you,
I don't listen to a lot of new music, and I'm sorry to say that.
the old
Um,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
good for you, man. And when I have a lot of music for a lot of different countries, very good stuff. When I see you at the gig in the 9:30 club, I will give you some vinyl, some record, some stuff for you to listen to as a present because I know you will like. And now
Okay.
hearing you saying that kind of stuff, and I know you will like it. You returned your solo career in 1989 with the third album, Remindedness, and of
With
course after
what?
that in the EP Narcosis.
Oh,
That's
oh yeah, yeah,
that's very good stuff, man.
yeah. Um, yeah.
Go ahead.
Narcosis I did in '92. At the same time I was doing pre-sequels Aura, and
Yeah.
that was made during my honeymoon with heroin.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, that's why it's called Narcosis.
Yeah.
I was trying to. I've always taken drugs, trying to figure out every drug that I took. I was trying to figure out how could I get that feeling into music, because I was very impressed with what happened with the Beatles when they started smoking pot. And the Beatles, there's a huge difference between A Hard Day's Night and then Rubber Soul and Revolver, and then they start taking acid when they get into Sergeant Pepper's. And you can see how a kid like me who was watching all of this could go, wow, you know, you can find inspiration in artificially by taking drugs. And so stupidly, I got involved with opiate drugs, and for a while, with the album pre-sequels Aura and the album's Narcosis, I was trying to get that feeling into music, like this feeling, the way it makes me feel. How can I express that with music? How can I get this feeling across? It's like I was taking drugs to make music so the listener didn't have to take the drugs. They could just listen to the music. And I think with the album Pre-Sequels Aura and the album Narcosis, you don't have to ever have had any drugs.
Mm.
If you listen to those albums, you can get a feeling from it of kind of what it's like to and you know, like, so that was what I was sort of trying to do with those records. And then that, of course, unfortunately led to a bit of an addiction, which I had to fight against. And I finally got free of that like 26 years ago.
How difficult was to get out of that? It's like a vicious circle, right? You
A
take more
very,
to next
yeah,
record,
yeah,
and then you are
yeah.
there. You let down. No, I need to take more to put
Oh,
the next record out. And
it
it's
was a,
you spend a lot of money. You destroy a
all my
family.
money, all my money. I spent all my money on it. I lost everything,
Mm.
and I wrecked relationships and
Sure.
disappointed my children, and um, it was really hard. And it was very hard. It was easy to get into and hard to get
Oh,
out of.
how to get out
Um,
there? Yeah.
and I'm lucky I got out of it.
Good for you. Good for you,
I
man.
didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't get out of it because I was clever. I just got out of it because I was lucky, and some things happened that helped me get out of it, and then I got out of it. And when it was over, I didn't want to do it anymore. Once I was out and out the other side, that was
Yeah,
enough. So
that's
it's
true.
been a long time since I've been a junkie.
Good for you. You cleaned your life
Mm-hmm.
up in between 2009 and 2017. You have worked with so many people, but some of the I will mention a couple of them. Martin Kennedy
Yeah,
and All India Radio. And what
yeah.
memory do you have for that?
Well, he and I started working in about 2003. I think we've made like 8 or 9 albums together. We've
Correct.
just made a new one.
Yeah.
We've just made a brand new one just at the end of last year.
Yeah.
We started working on a new record. Martin's great. He writes all the music, um, and he has whole pieces of music finished, and I just go in and I listen to them and I write the words and do the singing, and that's completely how we divide it up. So he comes up with all the music, and I come up with all the words and singing. So he's a great guy to work with because he's done a lot of the hard work. I just
Mm.
turn up and it's all ready to go. It's like I walk in and he goes, "Okay, this is the first song." He puts the music on, and I listen to it and start going, and then I write some words, and then we record that, and within 3 days we have an album. But he's done a lot of work before it gets to those 3 days where I do my singing.
Sure. Good for you. Man. You go nowadays, you guys have like independent, your own record label, self-release,
Uh,
before what it used to be, a record label
no,
putting your
I'm
money.
only yeah no I'm only on independent record labels.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not on any real record labels anymore.
Mm.
But everything's streaming anyway. It doesn't really matter. And
Mm.
the church exists because of patrons. We have patrons who pay for us to make records. We don't have record companies paying hundreds of thousands of dollars anymore
Like it
for
used to
us.
be. Right.
But it used to be, yeah. Once upon a time, there was
Mm.
Arista Records or Warner Brother Records, and they'd give us hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we'd make records. But nowadays, isn't like that. And we have patrons
Mm.
who are rich guys who love the church and sort of say, "Here's some money, go and make another record."
Yeah.
And we couldn't really exist without them because
Mm.
there's not a lot of we don't make a lot of money out. We make money from playing live. We don't really make a lot of money out of record sales anymore.
Sure. 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 I'm not a rich guy, but I will become a patron and help out as well. By the way, I told everybody in the interviews. Of course, now I have like a 200,000 subscriber. I own some radios or live radio, and all the profit go to charities. I mean, but
Wow.
100%, 100. I don't take even a penny. I'm a computer scientist, and I
Okay.
teach. I have a well-paying job, so I cannot complain. Why would I take money out of you if you're giving me an hour, 2 hours of your time at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night? That's crazy. I don't do that kind of stuff. You're being
Okay.
good to me. A lot of music have been very good to me.
Oh.
I'm going to be creating a couple of scholarships and in
Oh,
London
good.
in a couple of
Good.
months. Music
Good.
scholarship for poor people.
That's fantastic.
That's the way it should
Fantastic.
be in the world, man.
It is the way it should be, but it
You know?
isn't. But it is usually isn't. But there
Right.
are good people. I want to say that. I want to
Yeah.
say there are a lot of bad people in this world, but fuck, there are some good people too. There are
Yeah, of
some
course.
really good people who help musicians and help artists and
Yeah, of
have
course.
scholarships and patrons and people who have enough money so they have everything they need, and then
Yeah,
they start looking around going, who can I help with this? And
of course.
we've had 3 or 4 patrons who have been very, very generous to us for a long time.
Mm. Good. Yeah, absolutely. I know that your lyrics often quote historical and mythological events from
Yeah,
Eastern culture or religion.
yeah.
Feel free to elaborate because I know that's important to you. That helped a lot when you were doing drugs and doing stupid stuff. You went
Just
back
what?
to
Say
the
that.
no.
Yeah,
The Eastern culture and
yeah, yeah.
methodology, mythology that help you out, get out of trouble, and of course we have help you with writing lyrics and so on and so forth. But
I look. I'm really interested. Obviously, if you've listened to church, you know what I'm interested in.
of
I
course,
am
yeah, yeah,
interested. I mean, I am interested. I'm interested in religion. I'm interested
yeah,
in Christianity. I'm
yeah,
interested in Buddhism. I'm interested in Hinduism.
yeah.
I'm interested in the Greek mythology and Norse mythology. I'm
Mm,
interested in science fiction. I'm interested in ancient history. I'm interested in spirituality.
mm,
I'm interested in luck and chance and serendipity and
mm.
all of this stuff. Yeah, I don't write songs about meeting girls and getting in fights and driving a fast car. Um, my songs are full of and like
Sure.
I've read it, but not in a snobbish way. I don't want to make this seem like, oh, you got to be really clever to because I've read a lot of books. I try all of this stuff that's in my head. I believe, and I've seen other people. I see people reconcile all of this. I see people who can read the Iliad and the Odyssey and understand magic realism from South America and can understand Eskimo myths and the way the Celts saw the world with druids and all this, and sort of get it all into songs. Yeah, get all of this other stuff into songs. Songs don't have to be about you know
Girls and
rock and girls and
I mean,
fast
fast car.
cars. No,
Oh,
no.
beer.
But
Sure.
there are people who write
Mm,
and who wrote songs about girls and fast cars, and they did it well, and I
mm.
enjoyed that too. I
Yeah.
enjoy. I enjoy. She'll have fun, fun, fun till the daddy takes a T-bird away. I could enjoy that, but I also enjoy. I also enjoy having more. And David Bowie and Bob Dylan. They have some really beautiful poetry in their lyrics. Dylan was like one of the first guys, and then John Lennon saw what Dylan was doing, like bringing in quoting Shakespeare and bringing in strange words and strange poetic kind of sequences into the songs. So it stopped being girl meets boy and driving a fast car and
Yeah.
started being weird and strange stuff. Like when the Beatles, like especially when the Beatles put out Strawberry Fields Forever. And I was there, when that song came out. I'm 12 years old and I hear that song and I think to myself, my God, nobody's ever made music like this ever before. And the words and the music and the way it's all put together is some brand new thing. And really, I'm really excited by that. That like now rock and roll has broken away from the sort of stuff I heard when I was growing up, and has now it's making art. It's surreal. It's poetic. So all of that stuff I try and get in. I try and get in my songs. All of the things that I know and I've read and I've felt and I feel. I try and bring all of that into the music, but in an ambiguous way. So I don't go, you should believe in Jesus, or you should, you better do this or this, or I don't. I'm not a sort of telling you how it should be, but I sort of suggest stuff,
Yeah.
and I mention people and I mention names and I talk about events and stuff, and hope people make the connection and do the kind of work for themselves.
Absolutely. A general question, whoever the anyway win. that you would like to interpret that. But are you happy in your life? I mean, if you look now, you're 70. You look back, and everybody, me included, have done good stuff,
No,
bad stuff, complain to
no,
people, argument. This,
I'm not happy with my life. I I didn't understand. I think if I'd come along nowadays, um, well, look, I'm happy that I was born in a peaceful time and I lived in a peaceful country, and
yeah,
didn't live through a war. I wasn't being bombed or raped or
yeah, yeah,
shot at. So yes, on that level, I'm happy.
yeah,
I'm not happy with myself. I think if I had lived, if I was a young guy now, going to school, the teachers might realize that I have autism, or I have some mental conditions,
yeah,
and not and sort of and realize, I might have realized, someone might have explained to me, it's all right that you feel the way you do, because
yeah,
you have these problems. Like, yeah, you can write songs and make up music and understand stuff, but you have social problems where you seem like you're being rude.
mm,
All of my, my parents thought I was a rude little boy, and so did the teachers at school, and most of the people I ever met thought I was a very rude and hard to get along with person, and I didn't
mm,
understand what was happening. I didn't know why I was acting the way I did, and then my brother had a son, and he said his son was diagnosed with Asperger's and autism, and my brother was saying to me, "Man, this is you. This is exactly how you were."
yeah,
But now people understand it, and
mm,
all of the things, this way. So the me you see now is me trying hard to be a normal and regular guy, understanding that other person, I couldn't be like that. But it took a long time. In fact, that was the one good thing about the addiction, that it made me, when I came out the other side of the addiction, I realized I had to be a better person, and I couldn't go on being the way I was. And
yeah,
I've really tried hard to turn my life around
mm,
and to be a decent person all the
mm,
time. But
mm,
it's a struggle for me, because I sort of have this natural weird relationship with everything.
yeah,
I overthink things. I have a very thin skin. So that very thin skin that lets all the lyrics and music in, also, if somebody hurts my feelings, I get really hurt. And then I want to be horrible back, and say really nasty things. And I'm really good at saying nasty things to people. I could
yeah,
really, I really
fair,
spent my whole life being
yeah,
rude and nasty. So I
mm,
regret that, Claudio. I regret that. I wish I'd been a better person. I wish I'd been nicer to the people I made music with, and nicer to the audiences, and nicer to everybody I work with. I wish I hadn't
mm,
been such a pain in the ass. But now, at this stage of the game, at 70, for the rest of my life, I want
mm,
to undo that by being kind to every single person I meet in
mm.
any situation whatsoever. I want to be I want to be nice.
Sure,
I
sure.
want to, yeah, yeah, yeah. And
No, I
just, just because you, just because I thought, just because I could write songs, that meant I could be a horrible person. But it doesn't. It
no,
does.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't just be. You can't be horrible to people just because you have written some songs.
That's right.
You've got to. Yeah. Anyway,
No,
that
I
was my
understand.
struggle.
I'm in the spectrum as well, Steve.
Yeah.
I have autism, Asperger, attention issues, and what happened when you were born, in the 50s, those diagnoses were not understood correctly in
They
psychological
didn't.
terms. So you were labeled like a wild kid, right? And the teacher couldn't handle you, and they put you in the back of the room. They tried to get rid of you, and and so support. Nowadays, some people can do it via meditation. Some people take medicine. I'm in my case to concentrate. I talk to myself, but in many ways, you might think that it's crazy what I'm going to say, but being in the Asperger, being autistic, and being in the spectrum, in many ways, is a gift.
It
I
is.
learned how to unravel. I learned how.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
If you were not at the area, you could have not written. You have written over like 1,200 songs. Bob Dylan can do that, but not many people can know do that. So, if you look
I
back, yeah,
agree.
you were rude to Johnny, Peter, and Mary, and you destroyed your marriage, whatever it is, right? If that's your personal life, but you have done a lot of good stuff as well.
Yeah. I look, it has, it is,
Right?
it is an honor, and
Yeah,
it is a gift. It is a gift to have this problem, because what it means is I can focus on the things that I love
yeah,
for hours and hours and hours and hours. I can be in a recording studio focusing on this thing, getting it right, when
mm,
other people wouldn't be able to do it. But the trouble
correct.
is, I can only focus on the things I'm interested in. And
Sure.
when it comes, normal people can focus on things they're not interested in because
Yeah,
they have to. And they go, although I'm not interested in this, I'm going to have to focus on it. I don't have that ability. So
yeah,
and it, I wish that they had people that understood this a long time ago.
yeah,
I wish when I went to school, I'd gone to a school, like a Montessori school or a
yeah,
Steiner school.
yeah,
If they didn't have them in my days, they just had, you went to school and all the kids had to be the same. I wish someone had seen me when I was a kid and gone, hey, he's got some problems, but he's really got an appetite for
yeah.
language
Mm.
and music and art and stuff. And they could have spared me all the other stuff and let me just, and would have been a lot happier, you
Yeah,
know. But
sure.
you
You're
know,
you're a, you're a good guy, man. Don't worry. You're a good guy. You have done okay in your life, man, and you're different, right? I'm different, but you know, don't right. You're right. I mean, it wasn't understood at the time, and you were labeled a crazy kid, but you have done okay in your life. You walk your own way, your own path, you go at your own rhythm, and you have
yeah,
done okay. And of course, it takes time to one do introspection yourself and really think, well, man, I'm very different for the other kids. The other kids do other stuff. I have no interest in doing that kind of stuff. But when I'm doing something that I like, in your case, music, I'm better than most of the people there. So, as I told you before, it's like a gift. You need to learn how to unravel, and
yeah,
then
yeah. It is. It is.
and then
Um,
make, yeah,
it
and
is.
you,
It is definitely a
yeah,
gift. It's a gift,
yeah,
but it doesn't work out well for everybody. Um,
no, of course not.
not everybody gets the chance to turn it around, and I'm
Right,
very lucky that I did get a chance to turn it around. It would
right,
be horrible. It must be horrible for the people who are on the spectrum, who do have gifts, who don't get to use those gifts because
yeah,
being on the spectrum just has made their life so fucking hard that
yeah,
they can't get by in any way at all. So I really, I'm very lucky, I think.
yeah, and yeah, good for you. Um, Another album that I will bring you the name of another album, the Hypnogogue, and
Yeah,
that's a masterpiece album. I have
thank you.
taken because you have written so much different albums and your solo work, the stuff with the church. What memory do you have for writing that the
Of the
album?
Hypnagogue.
Yeah, this
Well, it was a kind of a brand new band.
yeah
Um, and we just did the usual thing. Our patron gave us some money. We went in a
yeah
studio. We jammed and jammed and jammed, and everybody got on different instruments and jammed. And you know, the drummer played the piano and the piano player played the drums, and everybody swapped around. And in the end, there was a load of music, and then I just went in and sang on it, you know, and put it all together. And yeah, it was just like any other album, but it really worked out. Everybody who was in the band then, and it's the same people now, they really wanted to be there. They really wanted to make that album. They were focused on the job.
Yeah.
And I just worked with good people. I worked with good engineers who could understand what I wanted to do. And yeah, it just all worked out well.
Good for you. If you looking back at your life, is anybody that you wish you had the opportunity to work with, or?
Well, of course, you know, if Brian Eno rang me up and said, "Hey, you want to make an album?" I go, "Yeah," but then I'd be really worried. What would happen if I disagreed with him. If we were doing something and he said, I don't want to do this, and I said, I think this is good. So I realized all of the people I want to work with, or you know, I might have wanted to work with, it might have been hard for me, because I have now, for the last 5 or 6 years, I have to have the final say. I can't have someone who has equal say with me when it comes to I have to be the guy who signs off and goes, in the end, when everybody disagrees, I have to be able to be the guy who goes, it's going to be like this. And it is like that, even with Martin Kennedy, to a certain extent. At the end of the day, even though he writes all the music, I sort of feel like, when I say this is the way it should be, even he will go along with me. So I worry that if anybody, one of my heroes, I did end up working with them, I worry I'd get in an argument with them if things weren't the way I wanted them to be.
Understand. Yeah, Brian Eno is an unbelievable guy. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, he's
of course.
brilliant.
Yeah. Another album, Rosita and the Perfume Guitars.
Yeah.
Man, that's another great album, man.
Yeah.
Man, your guys are so good, man. Huh?
Very fast. We did that very fast.
What, like
very
in a week?
fast.
In a couple of weeks?
Like in a week. Yeah, in a week. We had, I don't know, 4 or 5 days in the studio. We wrote all the music. And then I went up and spent another 3 or 4 days just doing the vocals, and it was made very fast. The Hypnogogue took a long time, and the Rosita was done very fast.
Yeah. All right, man. Unbelievable, you guys. Is it difficult in general term to make a good living as a musician?
Make a living?
Yeah, as a musician?
No. Not for me, no. I've been very lucky. I'm not very wealthy. I'm not like incredibly wealthy. And at the moment, I'm just living in a rented flat. But I consider myself lucky that I make enough money to have everything I want. And, you know, I have 5 daughters, and I can kind of look after them if I need to. And yeah, I get by all right. I've written some songs that bring me in money, and when I play live, I make a bit of money. I do solo shows and I make some money, you know. Sure. If you get 100 people who pay $50 to see you, that's $5,000. So if I get 100, if I go and play in some place and there's 100 people there, I can make $4,000 or $5,000 a night. So although there are no more record companies and you don't make money out of records, I've found that the most of the money for me now is playing live. which is why I play live a lot. I do.
Yeah.
And this year I'm playing a lot of live shows, like
Good for you.
like at least another 100 shows before the end of the year.
Wow. Any of your kids are into music?
Yeah, my eldest two daughters,
Yeah.
who are twins,
Yeah.
they have a band called Say Lulu, and they've made 3 albums.
Wow.
Yeah,
Impressive.
yep.
Yeah.
And one of my nephews is a very good musician in Australia. He's only a young guy, but he's kind of reminds me of me. He's sort of like, he does a lot of writing on his own, playing around in the studio on his own. Both my brothers sort of make music, and one of them teaches music at a university. And it's so the musical vein kind of running through the family, I think.
All right. Good for you. Man, I was looking at as of 2020, you have written over 1,000 original songs. And probably, now if you take into account, the next 5 years, the last 5 years, you have written a lot more. Good for you, man.
Yeah,
By the way, have you ever thought about writing like an autobiography?
I did.
You have
I
a very
did.
interesting life. I didn't know that. All right.
The book, yeah, there is a book. It's out of print at the moment. It's not
Yeah.
really an autobiography. It's memoirs. It's sort of
Memoir.
like
Yeah.
stories of things that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that, and
I need to check it out.
yeah, it's called Something Quite Peculiar. It's hard to find now, but you can read it online. You can get it from Amazon or Kindle, and you can read it online.
Yeah. I like physical thing. That's where
Me
I
too.
buy a lot of
Yeah.
music. I
Me
cannot
too.
read PDF.
Yeah.
Right. I suppose
Yeah.
if I didn't have a choice or
Yeah.
were poor, then I would read the PDF. But I like to
Oh, yeah.
buy music, go to show,
I
buy
would.
CD,
Yeah.
buy books.
No,
I have a lot of books. I read a lot,
yeah.
like you, man.
I'm the same. I want to have it. I want to have it as a thing. I don't want it to exist on a cloud somewhere.
Yeah. Plus, you can, if you're interested, maybe you can highlight a reference and then, put a sticky paper and then go back. And the PDF is hard. You need to, buy things, in my opinion. So you're going to be touring very soon. Here, you're coming back to the United States, man.
Yeah.
You're playing 2
Yeah.
shows in
Yeah.
Arizona, July the 15th and July
Yeah.
16th. Good for you. People love you here in the United States, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've been touring there. We've been touring there for over 40 years. First went there in 1984,
Yeah.
and we've been touring America for the last 12 years. The last 15 years, it seems like I've been touring America at least once a year.
Yeah.
I've been there almost every year, except for COVID. I missed a year or two, but I've been there. I've probably done like 20 American tours. Must be that many.
Yeah, 20 and probably 20 or 30 cities every time. Well, probably 600 gigs you can play in the United States, if no more. Wow. Very
Yeah,
good.
never thought of it like that.
Yeah. Is the audience different? I've never been in Australia, from the people in Australia versus people in the London or in Europe in general, as compared to the audience here in the States?
The audience, yeah, the audiences are kind of tougher here. I think they're harder to please for the church anyway. I think the audience may like us. I don't know. You could have a really good night anywhere. You could go to Minneapolis and have a fantastic night, and everybody loves you. And then the next night you could drive to Madison in Wisconsin, and they won't like you at all. And you've kind of it's been it's the same show and the same music, and Chicago's a great town for us. Seattle's a great town for us. But LA, not particularly. In LA, they never really loved us that much. But we go up the road to San Francisco, and they might really like you. And it changes. It changes places where you didn't used to do. They really love us in Texas. All our shows in Texas always sell out.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it always being like that. So you can sort of
Yeah.
suddenly you rise and fall.
You got frozen for a minute.
Uh,
Go ahead. Go
and
ahead.
then, yeah, and then you know you go to another city where they used to like you and nobody comes. So it's moving around all the time.
Yeah. I've been in show where before you play any notes, you have standing ovation when you're coming out and
Yeah,
everybody's up and applauding.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing feeling when that happens.
Before you even play a note.
Yeah, yeah. Before you play a note, they stand up and clap. That's a
Yeah.
wonderful feeling. It really
Yeah.
is. That
Yeah.
really helps. It helps.
Yeah. You're calling the next tour the singles. I imagine, well, that you're playing all the hits and right. All
Yeah,
the singles that track that make
yeah.
them
Look,
famous.
in Australia, we had a lot more hits, and
Yeah.
in Australia, the singles were more important. And we're
Mhm.
doing this tour of Australia, the singles tour.
Yeah.
And the promoter in America said, "Can you do the singles tour in America?" And I said, "Yeah, but I don't think the singles, like a lot of the singles that were hits in Australia, weren't hits in America. So it's different." So I'm not totally convinced that the singles tour was the best thing to do in America. Not like the same way it was in Australia.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of singles, and there's a lot of songs to choose from.
Yeah.
So yeah, there'll be a few hits, and there'll be a lot of more deep cuts, singles that people probably didn't think we were going to play. So there'll definitely be some interesting choices there.
Yeah. And you guys haven't, you're not rehearsing yet, selecting the track that you want to play because you have so many records, so many tracks.
Yeah,
So of course, the
yeah,
hits,
yeah.
you want to play, right? But
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. We've
it's
sort
very
of
difficult.
we've almost worked it out, but I'm still going to wait till I get there to finally figure out exactly what we are going to do.
You can play. You guys can play for 5 hours straight, man.
We could play.
We have
We
so
just
much
did.
minutes.
Yeah. We could play for like 2 weeks and never play the same song twice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man, good for you. I will be seeing, as I mentioned to you before, the August and 6th or the 9th and here in DC in 9:30 Club.
Okay.
And hopefully we can meet after the show because I
Yeah.
have several vinyls for you to sign if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You can take a couple pictures.
Write me yeah.
I will let you know in advance. Don't worry, man.
Yeah. Okay. Send me a Gmail. All right.
Yeah. It was very nice talking to you, Steve.
You too, Claudio.
Have a good night,
All right.
man. You're a great guy. You write reading a lot of music and hope to see you very soon. I will bring you some presents, some books as well for you because I know you love to read, man.
Okay. Thank you, mate.
It was very nice talking to you. Good luck to you, man.
You
Thank
too. Bye. Bye.
Appreciate it.